We've got four people online already.
Okay, nice.
Okay, go ahead and test the mic. Oh yeah, we're good.
Testing. You hear me?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. So we'll just go live. So everybody's online, Curtis.
There's 5 people online right now.
Let's pop back up. So the great thing is it's going to be there as the video forever. So we'll market to people there as well. We good?
Mhm.
Are we recording?
Mhm.
Oh.
You're live.
All right. We're live apparently, guys. All right. Welcome. This is Bagels and Business at the Miller campus at Salt Lake Community College. And this is our monthly event that we put on here. We're at the Mill currently right now. It's a great space, the 3rd floor of Building 5 at the Miller campus in Sandy. And by the way, this is the original co-working space for Utah. It's been here, I think, close to 20 years, if I remember. So 20 years. So we were doing co-working here before it became a thing. And so one of the best deals in town. So if you're down in the south part of Salt Lake County Valley, or Salt Lake County, check out, if you want co-working space, check out the Mill. I'm Bryce Hansen. I'm with the Small Business Development Center, located here at the Sandy Miller campus. And we work with entrepreneurs and small business owners to help them prepare for funding, to help them get, to be a little bit smarter about their marketing, and to connect them to other resources in the community. We work with hundreds of entrepreneurs every year, and help many of them along the way to do a little bit better in their businesses, to be more profitable and just be smarter about their decisions as they go forward. We're funded by the Small Business Administration, as well as the Governor's Office of Economic Development and the Host Institution. So you can find us throughout this, actually some of us, the SBDC network, you can find us throughout the state of Utah. We have 15 locations in different counties. So I'm going to introduce you to Curtis Morley. So he's written the book, The Entrepreneur's Paradox, and he has a lot of good experience. He's also, in addition to being the author of this great book, he is a 5-time entrepreneur, an author, mentor, and coach, thought leader, and patent holder who helps entrepreneurs achieve next level growth through his company, The Entrepreneur's Paradox. Curtis has built companies achieving 20x growth and acquired 96 of the Fortune 100 as clients, which is awesome. He's been Entrepreneur of the Year, 40 Under 40, and the Inc. 500 and 5,000 6 times, including Hall of Fame. He has been heard on 500 plus radio stations by millions of people around the country. Curtis is a Forbes Contributor, has a goal of helping 1 million entrepreneurs find the success they're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and welcome up Curtis. Thank you.
Thanks, Bryce.
Yeah, you bet.
I'm excited to talk to you today. Like Bryce said, I've got a goal of helping 1 million entrepreneurs achieve next level success. And if I can take you back a year to February 9th. Oh, and my presentation just disappeared. I'm now going to my Twitter profile. There we go. All right. There we go. So February 9th, 2020, 1 a.m. I'm woken and groggily climb out of the warmth of my sleeping bag. I start to don layer after layer as my companions with bleary-eyed confusion do the same. And typically in the Southern Hemisphere, you don't need to put on winter clothing. But this day, we were going to not only be in need of winter clothing, but heavy winter gear, including ski coat, ski pants, heavy boots, gaiters, thick gloves, hat, because before the day was over, we would be in -4 degrees Fahrenheit, or 36 degrees below zero. Not typical for the Southern Hemisphere. we donned our headlights, and Abdul asked us to go outside. So we went outside with our trekking poles in hand, and we started on our journey. We started on this voyage. And the voyage began at 1 a.m., 3 hours after we'd gone to bed. We woke up. And it was important that we started no later than 1 a.m. because if we didn't, we wouldn't make it back before dark the next day. And you'd think, man, that's going to be a pretty big trek, right? It's going to be a long, long hike. It was only 2.28 miles, but it was going to take us almost 24 hours because we were starting at 15,551 feet, the base camp of Mount Kilimanjaro, the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. And our ascent was going to take us up to 19,341 feet, so almost 4,000 feet in just under 2.5 miles. And you think about that elevation. Now, right now, we're comfortably sitting, on flat Earth. We're happy about that. But 19,341 feet is just shy of cruising altitude of the flight I'm going to take to Atlanta this week. So just under 20,000 feet was where we were heading. And we were going to do it in just under 2.5 miles. And so as we started our ascent, the day before, I had noticed switchbacks going up the face of the mountain. And there's really 3 segments on the mountain. The first is the face. And that's no question the hardest, or so we thought, because it's the longest and the steepest. And as we approached the mountain the day before, and just to put it into context, when we got to this point, we'd already hiked over 22 miles to get here and had 3 hours of sleep, woke up not the next day, that morning really, and started climbing. And with our ascent, it was just under 4,000 feet. Well, we saw the switchbacks on the mountain the day before as we approached base camp. But what I didn't realize was there was switchbacks inside the switchbacks. It was that steep. And just putting on our winter clothes, because the air was so thin, just putting on our winter clothes was an effort. Just putting on pants took a breath. And as we started our hike, you can see us with our trekking poles. 17 of us started up the mountain. It was so intense that we would plant our poles, take a step, and breathe. Step, breathe. Step, breathe. And that's why this journey of just under 2.5 miles up and then 2.5 miles back was going to take almost 24 hours to achieve. And this is where we're heading. You can see the mountain here. We approached from this side, came up here, and went up this face right here. And right at the top right there, is what's called Gilman's Point. So there's 3 summits actually. Gilman's Point was originally assumed to be the summit because that's where the expeditioners made it. Later, after we started understanding elevation and technology, we found that the expeditioners that followed, they created another one called Stella Point, and finally they found the true summit of Kilimanjaro, which is Uhuru Peak. And our expedition, we hiked up halfway up the face, and we got to what I called the ice cave. This is actually the only picture that I have because my hands were so cold and I was shaking. I was trying to get a picture of us as a group. And our guide, Simon, he said, "Do not sit down, do not sit down." And he said, "If you sit down, you do not get back up." And so half of our group, regardless, were so exhausted, they sat. They plopped down on the closest rock they could find, and sure enough, 5 minutes later, which we were only taking a 5-minute break, because at those levels of elevation, you need to get out of that elevation or else your brain dies. And so you need to get up, you need to get back down. And so he said, we're going to take the shortest break we can. I call it the ice cave. Really, it was an indention in the mountain to protect us from the blowing winds. The winds were starting to get fierce. And this is about 3 a.m. is when we made it. We'd been hiking for over 2 hours. We hadn't even made a mile. And we get to the ice cave, and people in sheer exhaustion just plopped down on the closest rock they could find. And Simon said, okay, it's time to go. And they have a saying, pole pole, pole pole to the top, pole pole. And the entire trip, every 10 minutes or so, you could hear some guide or some porter saying, pole pole to the top. And these happy, amazing Tanzanians that were taking the same trek with us, with smiles on their faces, were saying, pole pole to the top. And so he said, we need to go. And we literally were not only raising the spirits of our companions, but we were lifting them, raising them off of their seats, because the things we heard were things like, why did I think I could do this? I'm not a mountain climber. Man, I wish I had trained. I can't do this. What was I thinking? And keep in mind, we're just about 1.5 miles to the top. We've been days hiking to this, and we hear these discouraging words. And the hypoxia was starting to set in for some. Some had chosen not to take the hypoxia medicine, which was in some cases a very, very drastic result. But we lifted all of our companions. The group of 17 of us started the trek again. And we continued to step, breathe, step, breathe, step, breathe, hour after hour. And 5 hours in, right about 6:30 in the morning, for some reason it started to get darker. There was no moon in the sky, and it started to get darker and it started to get colder. And the cold seemed to just press through our clothing and into our bones. And as we were walking and breathing and trying to get any type of air we could, and the cold was just closing in and the darkness seemed to be getting darker, this happened. Across the globe, on the other side of the earth, it started just as a thin little slit that curved. We were so high we could actually see the curvature of the earth. And I'm going to pause real quick. Do you happen to have a power cord for my laptop? For a Mac? Does anybody have a power cord for a Mac? I apologize. It looks like I am on low battery all of a sudden.
Do you need another battery? I have a battery.
Yeah, it's just the laptop thinks Bryce. Just one thing more.
That's right. On that.
Thanks. You probably have to go on the other side. There's not enough room on that side. Thanks. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for being here in person. That's fantastic. So just as things seem darkest, just as things seem coldest, all of a sudden there was no color, but we saw this little slit that curved around the earth. And then the sun came up and it bathed us in light. And I was lucky enough to get this picture as the sun rose. And all of a sudden, hope was back. All of a sudden, we felt an energy, a real life that came into us. All of a sudden, it wasn't despair, but it was darkest and coldest right before the sun. And we continued our trek, and I'm going to share something amazing that happened right after this, but I'm going to share it at the end. So don't let me forget, because it was so impactful. But we kept climbing, and we made it to Gilman's Point. And you can see that this is a picture from Gilman's Point looking up the mountain. So we're here at Gilman's Point, and Stella is our next peak. It's around here and down a bit. Uhuru is another 800 feet up. And like I said, we thought that the hardest part was going to be the face, because you see the elevation here, it's not so bad. It's kind of traversing across the top of this volcano. So Kilimanjaro is the largest freestanding mountain in the world, meaning it's a single mountain. It's not like Everest or K2 that's part of a mountain range, but it's a single mountain that's a volcano. And we traverse along the ridge of the volcano to get to the highest peak. And as we did this, one of my companions, she said, "I'm going back." And I said, "No, you're not. You came to Africa to climb Kilimanjaro. You're not going back." And so arm in arm, we started walking from Gilman's to Stella. And it was 20 feet and then collapsing into the snow and just breathing and picking us up. And then another 20 feet and collapsing in the snow and doing it all over again. And eventually we made it. And unfortunately at Stella, she turned around and didn't get to see the 80-foot glaciers at the top of Kilimanjaro. This is us at Gilman's. This is Abdul, the guy that woke us at 1 a.m. This is my personal guide, and this is one of my porters. And this is Gilman's. You notice the elevation, 18,652. This is us at Stella. And unfortunately, she didn't make it all the way to Uhuru. She turned around at this point. But she did make it to 18,885. And finally, this is Uhuru Peak. They call it the roof of Africa. They call it there's a song that actually goes along with the hike. It's called a Mambo Jamba. And it's an amazingly fun song that they sing every morning to us as we climb. And we made it. We made it to the top. And when I got to the top and saw the glacier and saw the entire earth around me, every single one of those steps, every single one of those breaths, every single one of those doubts, every single one of the pains that I experienced all the way up was worth it. It was incredible. And one of the reasons Bryce and I got connected was because of the book I just wrote called The Entrepreneur's Paradox. And I actually wrote 2/3 of the book before climbing Kilimanjaro. And they have a saying that if you can't go up without coming down changed. And it's the truth. Every single one of the people on our expedition came down a different person. So I rewrote the book with an analogy that runs through the book about climbing your own entrepreneurial mountain. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is we're going to talk about climbing that mountain. And you're going to walk away with two things. Today, you're going to walk away with an actionable direction for you and your company. And number two is you're going to walk away with a proven method to change fear into power. And you can dive deeper into these topics in the book. But today we're going to do some really critical exercises that are going to get you to a place where you're going to have an actionable direction for your company, and you're going to know how to change fear into power. But I need 3 things from you. So, number 1 is vulnerability. And I know that's very vulnerable, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Number 2 is honesty. And number 3 is accountability. And Monique, can the people online, can they put in comments and suggestions and things?
Yes, they
Great.
can, yeah.
All right, so everybody online as well. I'd like you to participate also. So here we go. Let's dive in. Google Maps needs 2 things to navigate. What are the 2 things that Google Maps needs?
Where to go?
Where to go?
And where you're at.
Exactly. There's 2 things that Google Maps needs in order to get you to where you're going. And for people online that didn't hear, Google Maps needs to know where you are, number 1. And number 2, Google Maps needs to know where you want to be. So let me ask you the critical question. Where do you want to be? This is the vulnerable part. This is the vulnerable part. Where do you want to be in your business? Where do you want to go?
You're looking at me like you want a response.
That would be great.
Yeah. I guess ultimately to a point where it's profitable enough to sell it and not have to work again.
Excellent. Excellent.
Right? Build it to a point where you sell it and then you're done.
Vulnerable, honest. Way to go. What else do we got? Where do you want to take your business? Where do you want to be? I love that. Get to a point of profitability so that you can sell it.
Oh, yeah. I want to get to 20,000 a week with mine. That's like a kind of a benchmark for revenue.
20,000 a week for revenue?
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. That's awesome. Do we have any online comments, Monique?
Not yet.
Okay. Where do you want to take your business?
Oh, I have to agree with the first comment. I'd like to get to a point where I can work on some other things.
So be profitable, sell the company.
Sell it, and start on some other ideas.
Excellent. So, Bryce,
Oh, there we go.
Franchisable?
she wants to create a franchise.
Yeah, Lizette says franchisable.
Okay, franchisable.
Mhm.
Excellent. She wants to get to a place of being franchisable.
Yeah, I think for our business, when I run with my wife, to at least 100,000 a month in sales and distribution way expanded, and our product lines expanded.
Excellent. So, interestingly enough, there's only 3 mountain ranges you can climb as an entrepreneur. And when I first started my first company, I had no idea that this was the case. I thought, and just to give a little background, my first company was a full service media agency. And we were known for creating the coolest multimedia and interactive websites that you've ever seen. And we won award after award of how cool is this amazing web technologies. And this is back in the day, so this is going to date me a little bit, but we used Flash and we created really fun interactive websites and everything from radio, TV commercials, branding to back-end database, and we did everything in between. And that was enough for me. I didn't realize there was even a mountain to climb. It was enough for me to walk in and say, we build cool websites, we do cool interactive media, we build amazing radio, TV commercials, whatever it is. That was enough for me. And after I started my second, third, and fourth companies, I started to realize, wait a minute, there's actually a better way to do this. There's a better way to do this. And there are 3 mountain ranges you can climb, and only 3. The first is a lifestyle business mountain range. The second is a buy or be bought mountain range. And the third is an IPO. That's it. Those are the only destinations that an entrepreneur can get to. And they're exciting destinations. They're amazing destinations, all of them. And each has their individual challenges. But understanding which mountain range you're going to climb is critical. Because if you're going to climb the lifestyle mountain range where you want to, offload the business or sell part of it, or, be able to step away and hire somebody to do it for you, that has a very different path and a different set of gear that you're going to take up the mountain. It's kind of like climbing Timpanogos. You can get up and back in a day. It's a hard hike, no question about it, and it's going to make your feet hurt. But you can get up and back in a day, take a couple peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, lots of water, and you're good. Whereas Kilimanjaro would be the equivalent of a buy or be bought strategy. And an IPO would be similar to Mount Everest. In complexity, making sure you have guides and safety as you go up, all of those things. So there's those 3 destinations. And regardless of which destination there is, there's a formula. And I call it the success formula. And so we're going to dive into that. And the success formula has 4 parts. So get out your notebooks or your phones or your journals or whatever you have, get them out, because we're going to go through the success formula. And we're going to start by asking this question. Do you have a goal? And yes, this is a trick question, so it's going to be really vulnerable to answer this one. Do you have a goal? Or do you have a wish or a dream or a hope? Is it a goal or is it a wish? And let's look at the difference here by diving into the success formula. And I love this quote. If you don't know where you're going, any road will do. The entire trek of Kilimanjaro is 44 miles. If we didn't know very specifically where we were going, we could have wandered around the literally hundreds of square miles, maybe thousands of square miles in just approaching the summit. We could have wandered forever, not making any real progress. Just like me and my first company thinking, man, we built cool stuff. This is awesome. I get to go to the office and I'm going to build cool stuff and just wander around the foothills. Well, I didn't know where I was going. And so any road would do. Any client would do. Anytime someone said, hey, I want to give you money, that would do, because I didn't know which mountain I was going to climb. And it's kind of dangerous, and I've got a little example. This is the Beijing Marathon. And take a look. I'm laughing already. This is awesome. Take a look at these 2 guys in front and watch the video. About halfway through, you'll see a guy in a coat and a hat right on the edge of the screen. So he's going to be right over here. Watch very closely what happens when this is the case. Here we go. So again, Beijing Marathon, one of the major marathons in the world. These 2 guys are coming into the finish line as fast as they can. Here they go. Wait a minute. Oh, guys, that way. And 3rd place comes in and wins the marathon. Is that the most insane thing you've ever seen? If you don't know where you're going, then you might be running hard. You might be running really hard and not making it to the finish line. So let's dive in. Let's dive in deep to figure out where you're going. And let's change a wish or a dream or a hope into a goal. Let's find that finish line. Let's find that mountain that you're going to climb. And the success formula, like I talked about, has 4 parts. So part number 1 is how much? Part number 1 is, what is your revenue and profit goals? So how much? What is your end goal? I heard you want to build it to profitability and be able to sell it, right? Well, what does that look like? On a yearly revenue basis. Yearly revenue basis, what does that look like? What's your how much? Give you just a second. Looks like you already got it. Nice job. Give you a second to think about that. What do you want to achieve as far as revenue? Step 2, or the second part, is by when. And this is critical. This is absolutely critical. If you know how much by when, something happens right here. Something happens in your brain that changes the way you think. We'll talk a little bit more about that. The step 3 is for what? So what event is going to happen when you reach that revenue goal? What event are you going to take place in? And that varies based on which mountain range you're going to climb. So it looks like in this room, and I'll ask the question online as well, but it sounds like the mountain range that we're looking to climb is the buy or be bought mountain range. Is that right?
It's for me.
Yeah? Or is there?
Further down the line, yeah.
Okay, great. So your by when might be a few more years?
Yeah,
Okay,
5 more years.
great. So that would be the event. The event would be a purchase of the company. If you're going up the IPO mountain, the event would be an IPO. If you're in the lifestyle business, the event might be, I'm going to pay off my house, or I'm going to, buy that airplane or yacht or whatever you want to buy. That might be your event. But there's a very specific revenue goal, there's a time associated with it, and then there's an event. And the last one is, and why? So 4 parts: how much, by when, for what, and why. Is there anybody online while we're
Yes.
thinking about this that has comments about?
One person said expand, open more locations.
Awesome. So expand, open more locations. That's great. How does that fit into this formula? How does that fit into the formula? How much, by when, for what, and why? And this formula is very specific, and let's talk about what happens when we write out this formula. And actually, this is a worksheet to reverse engineer your goal, but also a very visual way to create this goal. So I'm going to actually give you this worksheet that goes through this activity. So you can scan this on your phone, and it'll send you a download so that you can actually have this worksheet. Once you're done with it, post it on your wall, and you'll have the goal. So give you just a second to download the success formula. And while you're downloading, I'll give a little more context around this. Once we create the success formula, step 2 is to reverse engineer the formula. And the reverse engineering looks like, the question is, how does that look when you reach that goal? So, who wants to be really vulnerable and share what your success formula looks like? Looks like people are still filling out the form.
Yeah.
All right, fill out the form, and then
And this is delayed just a tiny bit, so for the people at home, it just has a few seconds.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll give it just a second so you can grab that download. And while we're filling out the form, I'll give an example. A dear friend of mine, a very close relation, he started a company, and in his company, he said in 5 years, and very specifically with the date, so the by when, he said in 5 years on October 30th, I'm going to sell my company for $10 million. 5 years, October 30th. And I want you to get that specific. I want you to not just say sometime in 2025 or sometime in 2030 or whatever your year is. I want you to get to the day. I want you to get specific. By October 30th, 5 years from this day, I'm going to sell my company. 5 years later, my friend and associate sold his company for $13 million on October 30th, that day. $3 million more than he had hoped when he originally went into it. So let's talk about this. And this is vulnerable, and I respect that, and I honor that. But let's throw it out into the universe. Let's throw these goals out into the universe. So who's willing? Who's willing to share that with me? Can do anybody online or anybody here? I know it's vulnerable. I'm a very patient man.
So you're asking like how much we want to sell our business for? Is that the question?
So that could be part of your formula. Is your revenue goal the event? So let's just give an example. If the revenue goal is $20 million, by let's say we do 5 years from now, that's let's say May 5th. That's a good day. Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo. 20 million in revenue, the profit, May 5th. And by that time, your event, the for what, is an acquisition of X. So if you're at 20 million and you have a 2 times revenue, then you'll be selling your company for 40 million. So the revenue goal would be 20 million. The time frame would be May 5th, 2026, and the event or the for what would be an IPO of 2 times revenue, which would be a $40 million exit.
Okay.
So,
and just a question, I don't want to divert from where we're going, but you're talking about selling for 2 times revenue. Is that realistic? Because what I've been told is it's 3 to 5 times.
it depends.
If you've got revenue of $10 million, but you've got obligations of $20 million, you lose money.
Yeah.
So
all of those factors come in as well. Most importantly is what type of business you are.
right.
If you're a SaaS business, you're going to go for a much higher multiple than if you're a traditional business. And so,
Because what I'm focusing on, I mean, at least in my particular situation, is profitability. As much as revenue. Right? I mean, we can grow our revenue a small amount, but increase our profitability much more than it is right now. And that's kind of where my focus is.
yeah, that's awesome. And that's what I was talking about earlier. And just for everyone online, the question is revenue versus profit. Which do you focus on? And that depends on which mountain range you're climbing. If and I go in depth in this in the book is if you're going to climb the yeah, it's a great book. Grab it, it's on Amazon. So if you're climbing the mountain and it's a lifestyle business, then profitability is going to be number one. You want as much profitability as you can because you're taking home all the profits. If you're in a buy or rebought situation, it's not that case. Unless you're at a certain stage in the business, you have to hit a certain amount of profitability, but not like you would in a lifestyle business. In a lifestyle business, that is the focus. In a buy or rebought strategy, your number one is going to be the rate of growth. Along with rate of growth, you've got revenue. What size of revenue? because each milestone in revenue, your 5 million, your 10 million, your 20 million, each one of those increases your return, increases the rate that you're going to be bought. And so it's revenue, it's customer acquisition. I've talked to many peers and associates that they claim they've got a negative revenue model, which means they're burning more cash than they have. And it seems ridiculous, but if you think about where they're going, they're doing a customer acquisition play. They're trying to gobble up as much of the market as they can, and they know they can be profitable once they have that, similar to what Walmart has done in the past. I don't know if they still do this, but they would go into a market, open a store, drop all their prices and lose money to drive competitors out. And then once the competitors are out, they raise their prices back up. So it depends on where you're going. So yeah, it's all about which mountain you're going to climb. But would you be willing to share with us what your success formula looks like?
As far as actual numbers,
Mhm.
I don't know exactly what that is, but I'm thinking realistically in my business, an annual revenue of $2 million.
Okay. Excellent.
It would be great. And under, your example, if I were to get revenue of 2 million, sell a company for 4 million, yeah, perfect. I have no debt, no partners. $4 million would be nice.
Excellent. So $2 million in revenue. What's your date?
As soon as possible. Realistically, my business is now in its 7th year.
Okay.
And I think realistically from now, if we were to, do a product line expansion and expose ourselves into the markets that I think we have the most growth potential, it could be 2 years.
Great.
Yeah.
So 2 years from today, what date is that?
Let's just go with April 26th.
April 26th.
That's my birthday.
Oh, that's great. That's my sister's birthday.
April 26th, 2 years.
too.
Yeah.
Wait, that's your sister's birthday?
Yeah.
It's my sister's birthday.
It's a week before my birthday,
What's your birthday?
May 3rd.
Okay.
That's funny.
My best friend was April 6th.
Do you have an April birthday too?
No.
My birthday was last week. So
There you go.
happy birthday on the 26th.
Yeah.
All right. $2 million, April 26th, for an equity event at 2 times revenue.
2023.
And what's your why?
Because I have filed a tax return every year since I was 11 years old.
That is
I have had a job my
fantastic.
entire life. I'm done. I want to go play. I want to go,
Costa Rica, scuba diving, and
yeah, right.
excellent. So your why is you want to be done working.
Right.
So you want to get $2 million in revenue. Does that have a profit number along with it?
Well, I would think, easily with my current profitability, at least a 50 to 60% profit margin.
Okay, 50 to 60% profit margin. That's a phenomenal profit margin.
Yeah.
Nice. April 26th
Yeah.
of 2023,
Yeah.
so that you can stop working, stop getting out of the rat race.
Just go travel.
Just travel, enjoy life.
And I don't want to defer too much, but I was talking to my sister on the way down here, and we were talking. Anyway, my younger brother sold his business a couple years ago, and it was modest, but he's living his life. And it was like, my life right now is pretty good, but I don't have a day where I don't have an obligation.
Yeah.
I don't have a day where I can I don't have to check email. I don't have to answer phone calls. I don't have to, manage something with the business. I don't have an opportunity. I mean, I'm kind of flexible in what I do and how I do it. That's part of the reason we work for ourselves and become entrepreneurs. But I always have responsibilities every day, and it would be nice to just not have that. Just not have to know I've got to get up at a certain time. I've got to do this, this, and this for the business today.
Excellent.
And so that's kind of it, is just being able to really being able I want to go for 2 months and, travel South America.
Excellent.
Right? I can't do that. I can if I want to be on a computer every single day checking, Wi-Fi messages and emails, and then you're confined to Wi-Fi when you can get it and all that other stuff. Anyway, that's.
So your why is you want to untether from the work day. You want to have the freedom, the liberty to take 2 months and tour South America and enjoy and see jaguars and lemurs. And are lemurs in South America? We'll say they are.
South American English.
And then go scuba diving and all of those things. You want to be able to untether from the workforce that you've been in since you've been 11 years old.
Yeah.
Excellent. Something just happened. Right now. Something just happened. And let me describe what that is.
Okay.
When you went through this formula, how much, by when, for what, and why, and then you actually spoke the words. You wrote it down, you spoke the words. The worksheet that you'll get, I want you to fill that out. I want you to reverse engineer it. I want you to put it on your wall and say, this is the mountain I'm climbing. When you do that, and everyone else, everyone online, I want you right now to share your goal with someone. It can be me, it can be anyone, but I want you to get it out. I want you to get it outside of yourself, because then what happened right there is it went from a wish to a goal. And all of a sudden, the universe just decided to conspire to be on your side. When you speak those words, when you say, I am going to achieve this by this time for this result, and here's my why, the universe says, guess what? I'm going to help you out. And it's true that we can project ourselves, but there's science behind it as well. It's not mysticism. It's not this crazy voodoo magic. There's science behind it as well. This is me, obviously. And this is one of my favorite entrepreneurs, Kylie Chen. And she runs a company called Econel Expeditions. And
We had Kylie here.
yes, you
Kylie
did.
was here, yep.
You guys might have
She's
met her.
doing amazing.
She is amazing. She's one of my clients, dear friend. She was the one that took me to the top of Kilimanjaro.
Wow.
She's incredible. And Kylie, one of the reasons she's one of my favorite entrepreneurs is because think about the businesses that were affected during COVID. Now,
Yeah.
number one
She's amazing.
business that was affected in COVID was
Travel.
travel. Kylie ran a global expedition company. And in 1 month, her entire business went from highly successful to nothing in 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
Not one client, not two clients, 0 bookings in 1 month. And Kylie could have said, well, COVID happened, and we'll talk a little more about this, but she didn't. And I'll talk a lot about that in some coming slides, but instead, Kylie said, well, what can I do? And she changed her thinking, and she had created a second company called Adventure Dress.
Mm-hmm.
And you know about
I've
Adventure
seen her
Dress?
on- yeah.
They're phenomenal. They're
She's on Verbo and Airbnb and
Yeah.
doing other stuff. I know she's
Yeah.
everywhere.
and we'll talk a little
I'll
bit
let you
more.
tell you.
Yeah.
I'll let you tell the
So
story.
she started a second company called Adventure Dress. And she said, Curtis, I have no idea how to sell retail. I have no idea how to get my product out there. I don't know about inventory. I'm a travel expedition company, and this is way beyond me. And I said, you know what? We need to talk to 2 people. We need to talk to 2 people. And this is Cindy Lowry. Cindy started a company called Baby Bling, which does retail. And I said, we need to talk to Cindy Lowry, we need to talk to Rachel Nilsson. And I had actually lost Cindy's contact information. And I talked with Kylie on a Thursday, and I said, Kylie, I'm going to connect you with Cindy Lowry and Rachel Nilsson. Rachel started Rags to Riches, or Rags to Riches. Now it's just Rags. Also a clothing company, and highly successful. I'd never met Rachel before. We'd been at awards galas together, all those things. I'd never met her. This was a Thursday when I told Kylie, I'm going to find these 2 connections. We're going to go to lunch. Friday, I happened to be in a birthday party in a teepee. I know, it's kind of crazy. In a teepee, and Cindy Lowry was sitting across the teepee. And he said, Cindy, will you go to lunch with Kylie? The next day, I hiked to Horsetail Falls. And at the top of Horsetail Falls, there was a group of 3 ladies. And I said, you look really familiar. And she said, oh yeah, I'm Rachel Nelson. And I said, Rachel Nelson, will you come and have lunch with Kylie Nelson, or with Kylie Chen? And she agreed to that as well. And I put it out there. I said, well, I'm going to connect you with these 2 people. Within 2 days, found both of them and was able to help Kylie. But not only that, so the magic that happened when you spoke out loud the words, I'm going to have $2 million in revenue with a 50-60% profit by April 26th, my birthday, 2023, so that I can untether and break free from the rat race of work. This also happened. Your brain is currently rewiring itself. Your brain is taking a problem and saying, I'm going to solve this. The best problem-solving computer in the world sits inside our craniums. Our brains are literally, their function is to solve problems. And you just fed your brain a problem. You just said, I need to figure out how to make $2 million within 2 years. That's the magic that happened when not only you wrote it down, but you spoke it out loud. And now you know it, and now I know it, and all of us know it. And now your brain knows it. And your brain is going to start to rewire itself to start figuring out how to solve this problem. The problem was never there before. The problem was wandering around, it was like me showing up every day to work saying, I'm going to build cool stuff. This is awesome. My brain was focused on how am I going to make this more interactive? It wasn't focused on building the business. And a question I ask every one of the clients that I mentor and coach is I say, if you're working on the product, who's working on the business? Well, today, you're working on the business. You just mandated yourself to go from a product person to a business person. That just happened. And there's an amazing magic in that. And so, to illustrate this, take a look at this field of numbers. Everybody online, do this as well. Take a look at this field of numbers. I'm going to give you 60 seconds. And in those 60 seconds, I want you to find the numbers 1 through 60 in sequence. So in order, I want you to find the numbers 1 through 60. Okay? And I'm going to give you, here we go. Get my watch set. All right. On the count of 3, 2, 1, go. 60 seconds. Quarter of the way through. Halfway there. No pressure. No pressure. All right. 20 seconds left. Getting close. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop. All right, who made it? Who got all 60? Raise your hand.
I can't find 23.
I can't find 21.
Oh, 23. Shit, it's big.
What do we get online?
Just pick from different ones. I started picking from different ones, combining them, and just moving on.
That's a creative solution. What do we get online?
Someone got 22, and then Joseph says, my goal is to generate $1 million per year with 35% profit in 3 years. My company focus, other companies increase their profitability using continuous improvement methods. And then someone else said 25.
Nice.
So there's
Joseph?
goals out there.
Joseph, I love that you're throwing your goal out into the universe. Way to go. I guess, Joseph, you're up here. The microphone's down here. That's awesome. Congratulations. So it sounds like 25 was our top. We'll keep the lights off for just one more second. 25 was our top, it sounds like.
So far.
Did anybody make it past 25? Anybody? Anybody?
31 with my method.
With the slightly cheating method.
Was your method just to pick a 3 out of there and 5 out of there? That's what I did.
That's awesome. Real quick, going back to Joseph. Joseph, what is the day? What is the day? I need a day on there.
Okay.
I don't want just a year. Joseph, give me a day.
We'll have a little delay. So
all right.
Give them a second. But yeah, go.
Okay, so this is what happens when an entrepreneur starts businesses. This is exactly what happens. I show up at work going, I gotta make cool stuff. And oh, there's a number, and there's a number, and I gotta make, oh, I'm on number 3, oh, 4, 5, 6. And I start going down this path, and I'm like, this is cool. And I make it to 23. Or I make it to, it sounds like 25 was the highest. So this is what happens before you have the goal. Take a look at what happens. We're going to do the same exercise, but take a look at what happens after you have a goal. So get ready. We're going to give you 60 seconds again. And this time we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to do it a little bit differently. So, are we ready? This has some.
Joseph said June 10th, 2024.
June 10th, 2024. Way to go, Joseph. All right, here we go. I'm giving you another 60 seconds. And I want you to find the numbers 1 through 60. Again, exact same time frame. Nothing's changed. These are the exact same letters. Actually, let me just show you the verification. Or not letters, numbers. Say exact same numbers. Here we go. Give you 60 seconds. On your marks. Get set. Go. Team. How's it going? 50. 10 more seconds. And stop. All right, what do we get to?
56.
56. Nice. Your previous was 23?
My previous is like, 5.
5? 5? And now you got to 56? What did you get to?
47.
47. You were 25, right?
23.
23 to 47. What did you get to?
I got stuck on the same number.
You got stuck on the same number?
18. I couldn't find anything.
Yeah, I only got to 29, and I knew where some of the numbers were.
Monica said she got done.
Monica finished.
And Lisa got 50.
Nice job, Monica. 50. Take a look at what happened.
Yeah, you noticed a pattern, by the way.
1, 2, 3. All of a sudden, your brain starts segmenting. Your brain starts figuring out the patterns that you need to do to achieve your goal. Now you have a goal. Before, it was just a whole bunch of numbers, and you wake up every day and you get to number 5 instead of 56. Now, you are able to recognize that it goes in sequence, and instead of searching 60 numbers every single time, now you're only searching 10 numbers every time. And your brain changes the way you think because now you have that goal. So this is my last company before starting the entrepreneur's paradox. When I first started coaching Andrew and Sean, it was a basement business, literally. They had hung sheets in an unfinished basement, sheets, these big black plastic sheets to create offices. Unfinished basement, they stapled these sheets. That was their office segments. It was literally two brothers. And they were creating something amazing. Great guys, just amazing people. But it was a basement business without a goal. 6 years later, this is at the same conference, but notice instead of two guys with a tablecloth and a sign behind them, that's Andrew standing next to me. We're, again, at the same conference, and instead of no traffic and just two guys standing in front of the table, there's literally thousands of customers surrounding this booth.
And what's their product or business?
It's online learning.
Okay.
Yeah, online learning training. Yeah, amazing company. So the reason that happened, the reason that it went from a basement business to literally the fastest growing company in Utah County, on the top 10 list for 5 straight years, number 6 fastest growing e-learning company in the country. The reason that happened is because of what you just did right now. They did the same things. They set a very specific goal, a date, and have well exceeded it. And it's been amazing. So this number, who knows what this number represents in relation to small business? What does this number represent?
Failure.
Decent profit margin.
It is a decent profit margin, that's for sure.
Great.
It's actually a scary number, bad number.
How many make it to 5 years? Or
This
10
is
years?
the 1-year failure rate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in 1 year, 30% of businesses go under. And this is according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And who knows what this number represents?
2 years?
5 years. 5 years. Half of all small businesses will be defunct. But I think it's completely inaccurate. I know the data is correct, but their assumption is completely inaccurate. Because I don't believe that businesses fail. In fact, I believe companies don't fail, entrepreneurs quit. Those numbers are accurate for the number of businesses that don't renew their business license, that don't continue on. But it's not because they fail, it's because the entrepreneurs quit. And you've done something today that says, I know where I'm going. I have a purpose. I have a drive. I'm going to make it to the top of this mountain. So why do they fail? Why did they quit? Well, let's go back to Kylie Chen. Business stopped 1 month, completely 100% slammed on the brakes, skid marks on the road, cars about to rear end. I mean, it stopped. And Kylie could have said, well, COVID destroyed my business. She could have been one of these numbers. She could have been one of these statistics, but she didn't. She said, did the demand stop? Even though international travel stopped, did the demand stop? Is there still a demand for adventure?
Oh, yeah.
Is there still a demand for exploration? Is there still a demand to feel that freedom of being out in the wild and seeing things you've never seen before? Absolutely. So Kylie said, I'm not going to be one of those statistics. Instead, she said, the demand is still there, but where did it move? Where did the demand go? It's no longer international because of COVID. Well, then where is it? And she said, it's here. It's here in the United States. And in fact, in Utah has the most densely populated national parks of any state in the country. And so she created a second company called Wonder Camp. And with Wonder Camp, you can do glamping experiences in national parks. Well, guess what business skyrocketed because of COVID?
Yeah.
Domestic travel expeditions. So now Kylie has two companies, well, three, with Adventure Dress. And she is crushing it. She's amazing. So why do companies fail or entrepreneurs quit? When I started my first company, it was right before the 2000 recession. And I had a friend named Reed Wright who shared this quote with me, or he said this statement: "Curtis, you know why everyone around us is out of business and we're still thriving?" He said, "Because we're too dumb to know when to give up." and that's the truth. It's humorous, but it's also what Kylie did. She said, "I don't have to give up. I can keep going." And so, what stops you? What prevents you? What turns you into one of those statistics? Well, in working with entrepreneur after entrepreneur, I would say it's this. I would say it's fear. And this is where we're getting into the honesty part, as well as the vulnerability, is that it's fear. And one thing I've noticed with entrepreneurs, 100% of every entrepreneur I've ever worked with in mentoring or coaching has imposter syndrome. Every single one of them. I haven't met any that don't. I had it severely in my first couple companies. Severely, I had a major imposter syndrome. I felt like everybody else knew what they were doing. Everybody else had it figured out. My family members even knew what they were doing. I'm a hack. I'm a scrub. I'm a fake. And that fear was actually driving a lot of my motivation. And even though we were winning awards and getting 40 under 40 and Entrepreneur of the Year, blah, 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 if you looked inside of me, oh, there was turmoil. There was chaos. There was all of this stuff that was going, holy cow, I have no idea what I'm doing. Everybody else has it figured out, but not me. And those decisions started to drive my behavior. And part of the reason I wrote the book, The Entrepreneur's Paradox, was because I wanted to prevent others, help others to not make the same mistakes that I made. Because there is a better way to do business. There is a better way. And fear, oh, too early, dang. Shoot, go back. Fear is false evidence that appears real. It's things that we create in our minds. Seneca said it best when he said that anguish happens in imagination rather than reality. That's where we're suffering. That's the suffering that happens. Fear is false evidence that appears real. And did you know that there's only 2 fears we're born with? There's only 2 innate fears. It's because you saw the slide, right?
No, I know this for a long time.
You have? Awesome.
Yeah, it's fear of heights and fear of live noises, isn't it?
That's it.
Yeah.
There's only 2 fears that we're born with. And they did a study in 1969. This is a picture of the actual study. They put a plexiglass plate over a chasm for a small child. It's not higher than a table. But they put a plexiglass plate. There's only 2 fears that we're born with. We're not scared of snakes. We're not scared of the dark. We're not scared of public speaking. We're not scared of anything except for 2. Loud noises and fear of falling. That's it. Those are the only fears we're born with. So ask yourself, this is the honesty part. Ask yourself, what's a fear you felt last week?
So we have someone online who's kind of answering that. They said, we set a goal, reached it. Now we work harder and longer hours. We're now intimidated to set a new goal. How do we overcome that?
So,
how do we conquer fear?
Excellent.
In there.
That was such a good setup. Thank you. Who was that?
So I have 2 people, Chris W. and Karen Jen.
Chris W., Karen Jen. Thank you. That was a perfect setup for what we're going to talk about right now. And let me ask, what is one of your fears? What is one of your current fears? Who's willing to be honest? Who's willing to be open? Give me a
I
fear.
think that's kind of similar to mine. I think I just worry about turning into a workaholic and getting so busy that that's all I do.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a very legitimate fear. For everybody online, it was becoming a workaholic, neglecting everything else that you do, and just focusing on the business. That's excellent. Other fears?
Failure.
Fear of failure. Absolutely. That is one of
Growing
the
bigger
chronic.
than growing bigger than they can handle.
Growing bigger. Oh, fear of success.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Fear of success.
I think that's it. I think a lot of money, a lot of success changes people.
Uh-huh.
And when, and I think I think you're becoming arrogant and kind of just not caring. When you get so successful, I think I've seen that people change a little bit once they get a lot of success.
Yeah. And this actually comes up a lot. And it goes back to the fear of success. And for everybody online, the comment was that it's a fear of having money change me, having money change who I am. And what I've actually found is that money is an amplifier. The person you were before money is the person you are after money amplified. If you're giving to charities now, if you're being philanthropic in a small way, when you get money, that'll expand. If you're addicted to drugs, you get money, that's going to expand. And they've done several studies on people that win lotteries. And basically, money is an amplifier. The person you are today is the person that you'll be with money in a bigger way. So if that's one of your fears, the easy way to address that is be the person you want to be today. And when you get money, that'll turn into something bigger and better.
So not being able to achieve your annual targets is one of someone's fears online.
Awesome. So these are phenomenal. And thank you for sharing these fears, because we're going to give you one more formula. And it starts with this quote. My dear friend Richard Bass said, "Perplexing on the past produces pain. Fretting on the future fuels fear. Only the present provides peace and power." So we get to the base of Mount Kilimanjaro and we say, I want to climb this mountain. And then we get to the ice cave and we say, what was I thinking? This is so stupid. I can't breathe. I'm going to die. I'm getting hypoxia. And the fear stops us. The fear prevents us from taking that next step. So here's a very simple formula. Thank you for whoever asked the question online. How do we get out of fear? Here's a very simple formula, and it only takes one letter. It only takes one letter to change fear into power. And actually that is flipped on the slide. Don't read too closely. One letter that changes fear into power. And that letter is F. What I heard when we were talking about fears, what if, fill in the blanks. What if I become a workaholic? What if I can't hit my annual goals? What if? Just like Seneca said, suffering happens in imagination. What if is imagination? It's fretting on the future. It's projecting a negative scenario into the future. So change that F into this letter. Change it into an S. And say, what is? Instead of saying, what if I don't fail, say, what is my goal? What is my next step? What is in my control? What is the destination I want to reach? What is my summit? What is my character? Speaking of money changing, what is? And can you feel the difference? Can you feel that? When I said those what if statements, how did that feel? I know I felt it. As I was talking about what if, I felt like my chest was like contracting and there was a heaviness right here. And it felt enclosing, like trapping. And then when I started saying the what is statements, what is my next step? What is in my power? All of a sudden, I can breathe. All of a sudden that opens up and I feel powerful. I feel enabled. I feel that it's time to move. I feel like I need to take action. So the next time you hear yourself say, what if? Drop the F. Drop the F, add the S, and turn it from a what if to a what is.
Kevin Taylor online says, F is for fear, S is for success. I can remember that.
Nice. Kevin, you're getting attribution in my next book. Thanks, man. That is awesome. That is awesome. Did you have a question?
No.
Okay. And in the book, I actually not only give this as a daily way to overcome fear, but a exercise called fear smashing. And it takes your actual goal and it addresses the fears of your goal. So we talked about that online, said, now, what if I don't hit my projections? What if all these things? And it actually reverses the fear in your brain around your goal so that you wake up with excitement. And I love the quote that fear is excitement without breath. And there's actual studies around this. I talk about one by Alison Brooks Woods in my book, a Harvard professor who does a study on fear. And they just changed the words in an exercise. They have people either sing, do math, or public speak. They do public speaking. And before the exercise, they had the participants, the first group said, I'm anxious about this, or I'm nervous. The second group said nothing. The third group said, I'm excited. And they actually measured the efficacy as well as the accuracy of the participants. And from the anxious group to the control group, there was, I hope I can get the numbers right, it was about a 20% difference and another 30% difference for the group that said, I'm excited. They went in and they said, I'm excited about singing, and they measured the tone. And the people that said I'm excited were nailing the pitch. The people that said I'm anxious were way off. And they did the same thing with math. The math problems they weren't able to solve. And what happens in fear is a physiological effect. It actually, the neurotransmitters in the front of your brain disconnect. But most of the same emotions, the same physiological effects that you have in excitement, rapid heart rate, adrenaline, all of these things that are happening, sweat, they happen in excitement and fear. Almost exactly. There's only a little bit of difference between the two. One is fight or flight. The other is thrill and skill. And all you have to do is change that. And I go through these exercises in the book of how to smash the fears around your goal. So please go through those. And fear falters when faced. When you face fear, it turns out fear is a coward. Fear is an absolute coward. When you stare it down, when you say, all right, fear, let's go. Let's do this. Fear turns tail and runs. I said I would share another story with you about Kilimanjaro, and this will wrap up our presentation. After the complete darkness and cold was just about to overtake us, and we saw the sun peak above the curvature of the earth, we looked up towards Gilman Point. And there was another group above us. a group we didn't know was there. There was another group of expeditioners above us. And as we approached, we noticed that they weren't climbing the same way we were climbing. I had my trekking poles in each hand, and I was taking a step and breathing, taking another step and breathing. But the people in front of us, they didn't have trekking poles. They had crutches. You notice he's not wearing any shoes. They had crutches. They had special canes. They even had wheelchairs. At this point, we'd been hiking over 7 hours. They must have been hiking at least double that. And I sat down with him and I said, "What are you doing? I can't believe you're on this mountain. What are you doing? How are you doing this?" And he shared his story with me. He shared his story that when this happened to him, he looked at all the what ifs. He looked at what I can't do. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't play basketball. I can't. He said, one day I got sick of it. I got sick of thinking what I can't do. And he said, it's time for me to think what I can do. And he pointed up the mountain to Gilman's Point. And he said, I can do this. We each have our own mountains to climb. And we each have our own struggles. But he made it to the top. We each can make it to the top. That's what I'll leave you with today. Thanks.
Curtis, thank you. Curtis, thank you for being here. Again, another round of applause for Curtis Morley. All right, guys, thanks for being here online. Look up his book on Amazon, Audible as well, Kindle, Barnes and Noble. So all those great places. So get the book today. You can follow Curtis online. And again, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you guys next time.
That's a wrap.